Welcome. In the middle of the 1900s, a dark time fell over Europe. The continent was engulfed in chaos and destruction, with cities reduced to rubble and millions of lives lost. This darkness was born from fear, fueled by hate, and spread by a very powerful system of lies. Propaganda became the weapon of choice, a tool to manipulate and control the masses. So effective, we need to learn from it even today. The techniques used back then are still relevant, and understanding them is crucial to recognizing and combating modern-day propaganda. This is the story of how Adolf Hitler took control, not just of a country, but of the minds of its people. Through a calculated and relentless campaign, he managed to sway public opinion and gain unwavering support. This wasn't just by force, not at first. It was a gradual process, a slow erosion of truth and reason, replaced by a narrative of fear and division. It was a fight waged with words, pictures and symbols, a constant attack on truth and reason. The Nazis mastered the art of propaganda, using it to create an alternate reality that justified their actions and policies. To fight it, we must first understand it. By studying the methods and messages used, we can develop the tools needed to resist and counteract propaganda in all its forms. In these chapters, we will explore the ways Hitler and his government used to twist how people saw things and make them agree with him. We will delve into the psychological tactics and media strategies that were employed to manipulate the masses. It's a journey into the darkest parts of how people can be tricked, but it's a journey we need to take. By understanding the past, we can better protect ourselves and our societies from the insidious power of propaganda. After World War I, Germany was hurt, embarrassed, and its economy was a mess. This made people angry, and that's where Hitler planted the seeds of his dangerous ideas. He didn't offer complicated solutions, he offered a simple, tempting idea: blame. The Treaty of Versailles, Jewish people, communists, these were the ones to blame for Germany's problems, he said. The complicated problems of money and social unrest were made into simple stories of betrayal and being a victim. With these simple ideas, he built the base for a government built on hate, dividing people, and refusing to see different sides of things. To control people, you first have to make them think the enemy isn't human. This is a tactic as old as time, used by those in power to manipulate the masses. Hitler, a master of this terrible skill, knew this very well. He understood that by stripping away the humanity of his enemies, he could rally the German people to his cause. Jewish people, already blamed for economic problems, were constantly attacked and made to look bad. Propaganda painted them as the root of all societal issues, further deepening the divide. They weren't seen as people, not families, not individuals with hopes and dreams. Instead, they were reduced to mere caricatures of evil, stripped of their identities and humanity. They were called parasites, vermin, a disease infecting Germany. This relentless dehumanization was a calculated move to make the unthinkable seem acceptable. This kind of talk, which took away all their humanity, had a scary purpose. It was designed to desensitize the population, making them numb to the atrocities being committed. It made it easier to accept, justify, even take part in the terrible things that happened to them. Ordinary people became complicit in extraordinary evil. Communists, gay people, people with disabilities, anyone who was different was targeted, made to look like a monster, and seen as less than human by the German people. This widespread demonization ensured that no one was safe from the regime's wrath. Hitler wrote that people will more easily believe a big lie than a small one. He thought that if you repeated a lie enough times and loud enough, it would stick in people's minds. This wasn't just about spreading lies, it was about destroying the idea of truth itself. By constantly giving the public false information, the Nazis made it almost impossible to tell what was true and what wasn't. It was about making people automatically believe what the government said without question. The big lie, repeated over and over again, became the base of a terrifying new reality. Chapter 4. Propaganda of the deed. Manufacturing crisis, justifying control. The Nazis knew how powerful fear was and how it could be used to control and trick people. They understood that fear could paralyze rational thought and make people more susceptible to manipulation. By creating a sense of constant threat, they could rally the masses behind their cause. They were experts at using crises, real or made up, to get what they wanted. Whether it was economic instability, political turmoil, or social unrest, the Nazis seized every opportunity to present themselves as the saviors of the nation. They crafted narratives that painted them as the only solution to the chaos. The burning of the Reichstag building in 1933 is a scary example of this. The fire was a pivotal moment that allowed the Nazis to push their agenda forward. It was a dramatic event that shocked the nation and created a perfect pretext for drastic action. The Nazis quickly blamed communists, using it as a reason to crack down on people's freedoms. They portrayed the communists as a dire threat to the nation's security, justifying their own authoritarian measures. This tactic of scapegoating was central to their strategy. This was propaganda in action, using a dramatic event to make people feel a certain way and justify extreme measures. The Nazis were masters at manipulating public perception, turning fear into a tool of control. They used propaganda to create an enemy and then offered themselves as the only defense. The message was clear. The nation was under attack, and only the strong leadership of the Nazi Party could bring back order and safety. By presenting themselves as the protectors of the people, they gained widespread support and were able to implement their radical policies with little resistance. Chapter 5. The media monopoly, controlling the airwaves, shaping reality. The Nazis knew that controlling information was the key to controlling the country. As soon as they took power, they quickly took control of all forms of media. Newspapers were shut down or taken over by the government, their pages filled with Nazi propaganda. Radio, a powerful tool, became a voice for the government. Every broadcast, article and movie became a way to spread Nazi ideas, shape what people thought, and silence anyone who disagreed. Chapter 6. Spectacle and Symbolism. The seduction of the masses. The Nazis were masters of big shows, understanding how big events could affect people's minds. The Nuremberg rallies were more than just political meetings. They were carefully planned performances designed to make people feel amazed and united. Flags, banners, torches, marching formations, it was all designed to overwhelm people's senses and stop them from thinking clearly. In the middle of it all stood Hitler, the charismatic leader, feeding off the adoration of the crowds. Symbols played a key role, with powerful symbols like the swastika and the eagle becoming constant reminders of the party's presence and power. Chapter 7. The Cult of Hitler, forging a god from the ashes of despair. To understand Nazi propaganda, you have to understand the hero worship around Adolf Hitler. He was carefully made into a godlike figure, the savior of Germany, the symbol of the nation's hopes and dreams. His picture was everywhere, on posters, in newspapers, projected onto giant screens at rallies. His speeches, carefully written and delivered like a performance, tapped into the deepest fears and hopes of the German people. This wasn't just hero worship, it was a kind of mass hypnosis, a blurring of the lines between the man and the state. Chapter 8. Poisoning the well, indoctrinating the youth. The Nazis knew that real control meant shaping the future. The Hitler Youth and the League of German Girls became training grounds for a generation raised on Nazi ideas. They were taught to worship Hitler, believe in racial purity, and see Jewish people and other undesirables as enemies. This wasn't just education, it was brainwashing, creating a generation that accepted Nazi rule as normal. Chapter 9. Art in the service of tyranny, beauty as a blunt instrument. The Nazis knew the power of art to move people, inspire them, and change how they see things. Art, music, literature, and film were all used to serve the Nazi state. Works that praised the Aryan ideal were promoted, while anything considered degenerate was condemned, banned, and destroyed. Musicians were silenced, writers forced to leave the country, artists forced to watch their work burned. This wasn't just censorship, it was a cultural cleansing, creating a suffocating artistic world that only reflected Nazi values. Chapter 10. Living in Fear. The perpetual threat as a tool of control. Fear was what kept the Nazi regime alive. The invisible force that kept people in line. The Nazis were experts at creating fear, making people feel constantly threatened. Jews, communists, gay people, intellectuals, anyone different was portrayed as an enemy of the state. The Nazis also constantly warned about threats from other countries. This constant fear created suspicion and distrust, making people more willing to give up their freedoms. Outro echoes of the past. What happened in Nazi Germany is a scary reminder of how powerful propaganda can be. Understanding these techniques isn't just something to learn in school, it's a crucial defense against similar tactics being used today. The language of division, scapegoating, and the big lie are still used to manipulate people. By recognizing these tactics and learning to think critically, we can protect ourselves from the dangerous appeal of propaganda. We have a responsibility to be watchful, speak out against injustice, and defend tolerance and understanding. Thank you for watching.